my highly opinionated friends, and welcome to another episode of Bold Banter Bonanza, where I read your controversial opinions on My Little Pony. You guys loved episodes 1 through 4, so I am therefore contractually obligated to keep these going until this is all that my channel consists of. Let's jump in with the first comment. My controversial opinion is that Big Mac would actually be really good with Pinkie Pie's twin. Oh dear! I see we are starting things off with the is it inbreeding debate. Okay, so obviously you cannot address this opinion without also addressing this scene.
Hey, cousin!
So, due to this episode existing, it is totally possible that Big Mac and Marble Pie may be cousins, making this whole relationship, what's the word? Clever. There was actually a video on this made by Hallelujah Brony, which I will link in the description. He covers this topic in great detail and explains that there's actually very little relationship between these two, if any. Like, they're so distant you might as well say they're not even related. In which case, yeah, I'd say that's a perfectly valid opinion. Personally, I really like the direction they took with Sugar Belle and Big Mac, but yeah, I could absolutely have seen this working out too. Although I think the reason they didn't go with this is probably because there was a lot of fans who looked at the relationship and said, "Ew, gross! No! No! Get it away! Get it away!" Unpopular opinion, the Storm King is an awesome villain. While he may not have had much screen time, he is so fun to watch whenever he's on screen. Oh, well, that's an opinion you don't hear every day. Yeah, there were a lot of people who really did not like the Storm King because he was very bland and felt a bit effortless. But personally, I do kind of agree with this comment. I do think that the Storm King was a fun villain. However, I think the execution of implementing him into the story could have definitely been better. And honestly, he does feel a lot like T-Rex, but with Discord's personality, except there's no chaos magic to go with the personality. Like, there's multiple areas where I definitely think he could have been done better, which is why I personally wouldn't go as far as to say that he is an awesome villain, but I would definitely say he is underrated. Thank you for the comment. Next opinion, please. Fernando the Straw is the best MLP character. Oh, hold on one moment. I gotta pull out my MLP tier list here. Okay, let's see here. A tier. A is for Applejack, so of course, Applejack. A tier. B tier. Bulk Biceps, because B is for bulk. C tier, Carrot Top, makes sense. She doesn't do much in this show. Oh, then we got D tier. Okay, which characters' names start with D? Yep, gonna get some hate comments for that one. And then S tier, S is for Straw. Oh no, wait, hold on. F is for Fernando. Fernando may be F tier. I don't know what to do here. I don't think I can trust this very scientific tier list. You know what? They're all S tier, except Carrot Top. All right, next opinion. I have one that seems to get people boiling every time I say it. Twilight is an awful main character. I compare her to Marionette from Miraculous. Okay guys, because I know in advance, thanks to this comment, that your blood is probably boiling right now, this is the time I need to remind you, this is all in good fun, and when somebody here has an opinion, we are respectful of that opinion. Now I will say, I personally disagree. I do actually think that Twilight is a good main character. I think that generally how she leads the group is pretty darn good. She's very likable, her struggles are relatable, and I think that her ascension to princesshood made sense and was a good story. As for how she compares to Marionette, I have only ever seen one episode of Miraculous, and it sucked! This is your friendly reminder that we respect each other's opinions here. Alright, next comment. Zephyr Breeze and Tree Hugger. I don't hate it, but I do hate how much I don't hate it. I'm gonna get absolutely ripped to shreds for this. Oh no. But I hate Mod Pie. Hold on, one moment. Okay, you may continue. It's because she's just so bland and boring. I can't stand her one bit, and I will never get why so many people like her. Well, as somebody who does like Mod, and I'm not just saying that so I don't get ripped to shreds, the reason why so many people like her is because of that blandness. there is a comedic element to her being so bland, especially when contrasted with Pinkie Pie, who is her exact opposite. There's also the fact that she is what I would call a deceptively deep character, where there's actually a lot to her underneath all that blandness. While her personality and behavior do not convey much, we get a lot of deeper glimpses at her character from moments like when she was interrogating Rarity to figure out that Pinkie Pie had traded in her cannon for a rock pouch, or when she talks to either Apple Bloom or Starlight about her love of rocks and why she likes them so much. And a lot of characters can easily become hated upon doing something that is malicious to other characters, but Maud only ever treats the other characters with kindness, thereby making her even more likable. But while I like Maud for all the reasons I've listed, I can understand why someone might not like her for her monotone voice, color scheme, and everything else. But that's just a matter of taste. Thank you for the comment. Oh, no, wait, don't go yet. You better take this with you. Yeah, there you go. Safe and sound behind that bulletproof glass. Today is a good day. My controversial opinion is Fluttershy was too shy and Rainbow Dash didn't deserve her element of harmony. Hey! That's two opinions. No double dipping. But I am going to let it slide because I already read it. Okay, so for the first one, personally, I didn't have a problem with how shy Fluttershy was. There are a lot of people out there who really related to her because of how shy she was, and while some people might think it's unrealistically shy, there are actually quite a lot of people out there who genuinely are as shy as Fluttershy is. Now, I'm aware you did not use the word unrealistically, and you said too shy, and if it's purely just that and a matter of taste, yeah, I totally get that. Now, as for Rainbow Dash not deserving her element of harmony, that's actually a big topic that's been around for a while, and I would say I do largely agree, at least in earlier seasons. In later seasons of the show, I think that Rainbow Dash actually does start to really represent her element a lot more. Like, there were a lot of smaller moments in the later half of the show where Rainbow Dash was representing her element better, like when she's encouraging Scootaloo to stay loyal to her friends in the episode Fight to the Finish. And I am wondering if moments like this came about purely because of the criticism that the show received, where people were saying that Rainbow Dash did not deserve her element. So yeah, I do kind of agree with this one. Moving on. I love the Fallout Equestria alicorns. Unfortunately, they are hated at worst and ignored at best. Completely underrated. Wow, we got an opinion on a fan fiction. Isn't it amazing how everyone in this fandom has read this fan fiction and we can all just bond over this one common extra piece of media that has been created, and it's so big to the point where you go to conventions and it makes up approximately 10% of the entire convention space with merchandise and other people talking about their spin-offs that they've written for this fan fiction. Isn't that amazing that this is this other thing that we can all bond over? Anyway, so I've not read Fallout Equestria, so I'm gonna leave this one up to you guys. Were the alicorns underrated, underutilized? I don't know. Anyway, next comment. I don't like cheese sandwich. Wait, what? But how could you not like cheese sandwich? Like, it's so simple and yet so delicious. Especially when you get like a nice garlic butter, especially homemade garlic butter. Homemade garlic butter is the absolute best. My wife makes it. It's amazing. And then you can slow cook it, and then you get a nice cheese pull. And if you're feeling real fancy, you can throw in some meat in there. I prefer ham. You could even throw in some tomato. Tomato goes great with a cheese sandwich. It's just absolutely amazing. Like, I'm genuinely sitting here like, you don't like cheese sandwich? Huh. You're probably the first person I've met who doesn't like a cheese sandwich. From MLP, of course. Oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I gotcha. I thought you meant like the actual food and not the pony. Wait, what? You don't like the pony? I honestly wish that Twilight had stayed in Canterlot High with the others. Huh. Yeah, I have never heard anyone say that before. That's an interesting idea. Like, what would happen to the timeline if Twilight had ended up staying in Canterlot High? Like, when Sunset Shimmer was about to destroy the portal, Twilight said that Equestria would find a way to survive without her element. And while that may be true, I'm not so sure Equestria could survive without her. Also, you know, there's the issue with all of her friends back in Equestria being absolutely heartbroken over the fact that their friend is stuck in this human world and is not returning anytime soon. It is an interesting idea, though. Opinion. Your editing style, commentary, and narration is one of the most entertaining I've ever seen. Love the content. Aw, well, thank you. You know, I actually try really hard to make sure that whatever I'm doing with my recording, I do it really, really well, and make sure that all my editing is very, very high quality. I make sure that I don't ever have low quality content, because, you know, that looks bad if I do that. And I always try to make sure that my commentary is, like, you know, well-paced, and I'm not going, you know, too long with it. I'm not rambling and talking about a bunch of stuff like, you know, the keyframing and the pacing and the little minor audio adjustments you gotta make. You know, the stuff that people don't care about. People care about things that are, you know, entertaining. So thank you. Thank you so much for this comment. I really appreciate it. Yeah, anyway, this video was not edited by me, actually. It was edited by Medius. Everyone wave, say hi, Medius. Yeah, this is actually the third video he's done for me. He's doing a great job. I think Discord should have been a villain for longer. Yeah, you know what? I can totally see this. Discord is a really fun character, and as a villain, he is exceptional. And for that reason, yeah, I don't think people would have minded if he was a villain for an even longer time. We did get to see Discord have a bit of a relapse in the Season 4 finale, which was definitely a treat for any of us who wanted to see a bit more of him as a villain. But at the end of the day, personally, I like how they handled Discord and I wouldn't change it. But also, if we were given one more season premiere or one more season finale where Discord is the villain, I can't see myself complaining. Thank you very much for the comment. Derpy is very cute. Yes, I agree, and I am pretty sure we are the only two people on this planet who think that. Nope. Not a soul who agrees with us. Fluttercord is a bad ship. I just feel, like, off-putted by it. Yeah, I get this. We're talking about a 1,000-year-old Lord of Chaos Draconicus who never dies, and a 52-year-old Pegasus, and yes, she is in fact 52. Although, thanks to Equestria Girls, it's hard to think of her as anything other than a teenager. And when you consider the massive age gap, the massive power imbalance, and the interspecies relationship of it all, yeah, I can definitely see this relationship being off-putting. Plus, you know, there's that really sad implication that if they were a couple, Fluttershy is going to eventually die and Discord's gonna live on forever without her. And of course, if they were ever to go down that route, you would need to address this issue. And this issue is going to result in a lonely, old, depressed, tired Discord who is going to spend the rest of eternity sulking. And personally, I don't really want that. I don't like seeing my favorite characters turned into these old and miserable relics of a better time. So I'm personally really glad that they didn't do this with Discord. No! Those comics do not exist! Keep them away! Nah. Cozy Glow was way too obvious of a villain. I instantly knew she was evil. Yeah, you know what? I agree. Cozy Glow was a very obvious villain, and you could instantly tell she was evil. However, is that a bad thing? Like, they were making it pretty clear that if she's not evil, there was, at the very least, something very wrong with her. But personally, I think these constant hints at her being evil were very necessary. Like, imagine for a moment that we didn't get any of these hints, and instead, Cozy Glow was a twist villain. I think if they had gone that route, Cozy Glow's evil reveal would have felt really out of nowhere. And instead of fans going, "Oh my gosh, guys, it's finally happening! Martha! Martha! Put some popcorn in the microwave! Stuff is going down!" We probably would have been more likely to get a situation where Martha walks in with the popcorn going, "All right, guys, I've got the popcorn. Did you want real butter or butter flavor?" Why is the child laughing maniacally? And I'm willing to bet this is how people would have responded, because this is exactly how people responded to Hans from Frozen being a villain. It just didn't make sense. There was no hinting at it. There was no build-up. There was no information suggesting that he would be the villain. In fact, there was information suggesting the opposite. So, yeah, I absolutely agree. She was a very obvious villain. Do I think she was too obvious? No. I personally think that her being a very obvious villain was absolutely necessary to avoid another situation like Hans from Frozen. A very interesting topic. Thank you for the comment. Next opinion from Roman. Confining opinion, the Sirens had better songs than the main six. If we're specifically talking about Rainbow Rocks, I absolutely agree, and I am so sorry that you feel so confined by this opinion. Opinion. If you were a Ninjago character, you would be Jay. Okay, so, fun fact! Black Moonlight and I just finished watching Ninjago. We also watched the sequel series, we started watching the third series, and we haven't finished it. We've taken a break to start watching Phineas and Ferb. Honestly, we aren't really feeling Dragons Rising anyway. We're just not as interested in the story and characters for this series. But the first series is amazing! And yes, you are absolutely right. If I were an Ninjago character, I would be Jay. There is no debate there. Unpopular opinion, the songs in Equestria Girls are way better than the MLP ones. Don't get me wrong, they're amazing, but I love the Equestria Girls ones, especially Under Our Spell. Also, side note, the Sirens should have won. Okay, you know what? I can understand liking the Equestria Girls songs more. There are some absolute bangers in Equestria Girls, especially The Legend of Everfree, which I know people love to hate on this movie, but personally, I love it, if for nothing else, just the music. Those songs are so good. Now, as for your side note, the Sirens should have won? Personally, I say no, because I like this show and I want it to go on for longer than 5 seasons. Next opinion? The entire series is awesome! You know what? I absolutely agree. Well, except for Cart Before the Ponies. That one wasn't good. Well, and then I guess there's Rainbow Road Trip. I mean, it wasn't bad, it was just super forgettable. And you know what? I suppose the movie wasn't that good either. It had some really weird, out-of-place world building that felt like something out of Treasure Planet. And you know, I suppose there's also Snips and Snails. Yeah, just Snips and Snails. Yeah, they could have been removed from the series and that would have been a massive improvement. And also, I suppose there's also the Grokar twist at the end. Yeah, that twist didn't really work. We should have just had Grokar actually be in the show as the main villain and not have this weird Discord is Grokar thing. And I suppose the morals in Yakety Sax were a little bit questionable, but other than those things, the entire series is awesome. Although I am the only person on this planet who didn't care for the Ticketmaster, the Student 6 and the School of Friendship were a great addition to the series. Yeah, the Student 6 and, frankly, the entire School of Friendship get ragged on a lot by this fandom. And you know what? I totally get that. Like, I understand the complaints such as the sudden shift away from the main 6, the really clunky execution of implementing it into the story, but other than those two things, I don't really mind the idea of it. Twilight wants to spread more friendship across the world, and the best way to do that is probably through this school. You teach your students morals and social skills, and then they go on to spread that out into the world. Now, I know a lot of people's main complaint is that friendship as a subject feels really gimmicky, really shoved in your face, out of place, and unrealistic. To which I say, first off, go back to the first 3 seasons of this show. Twilight was literally a student learning friendship. The lessons she was learning were friendship lessons. Celestia assigned Twilight the role of learning friendship and reporting her findings and discoveries on it. Friendship as a subject has always been in this show from the very beginning. We just kind of forgot about that ever since season 4 because they stopped writing friendship letters. So personally, I don't think it feels out of place, and the idea of it being unrealistic or gimmicky, I also don't think really holds up. Friendship as a subject to be taught in schools isn't unique to My Little Pony. We all have to be taught morals throughout our lives, and sometimes people do get taught morals in a classroom setting or a classroom-like setting. For example, preschool, where kids are generally taught basics such as sharing, honesty, empathy, etc. There's also things like Vacation Bible School, and personally, I was part of a homeschool co-op group, and we would have moral debates constantly in class. So I actually don't think that the School of Friendship is that outlandish of an idea. The implementation of it into the story, yeah, definitely could have been done better. And in terms of the Student 6, I do also agree with this comment. I just personally wish that we got more of them. I really don't think that the 2 seasons we got with them was enough to fully flesh out these characters, especially since half of those episodes were dedicated to the main 6. So yeah, absolutely agree with this comment. Thank you very much. My opinion is, I wish we got more fight scenes like Twilight versus T-Rex. I like me some good old-fashioned Dragon Ball style beatdowns. You know what? While I do absolutely love that scene, and it is truly the most epic fight in all of MLP, I actually think that adding in a bunch of fights like that would, 1, take away from the impact that the first one has, and 2, would start to feel a little out of place in this series. I mean, this show is supposed to teach about friendship and how to resolve conflict peacefully, and I feel like adding in more fight scenes like that could have potentially drawn away from that aspect of the show. But yeah, the Twilight versus T-Rex fight scene was absolutely epic, and I totally get wanting more. more. Next opinion. You sound like, oh, let me guess, Chris McLean. Zephyr Breeze, to be honest. Oh, I most certainly do not. Don't even compare me to that diva. Anyway, that wraps up this episode of Bold Banter Bonanza. If you have any controversial opinions, be sure to leave them down in the comments, and I just might include them in the next episode. Huge thank you to my patrons, especially Godzilla Man over here. Guys, guess what? For $1 a month, I do extra videos. And if you want more Bold Banter Bonanza, I formed a handy-dandy playlist right over here containing all of the episodes should you not have seen them yet. Or maybe you have seen them and you just want to rewatch them. I won't mind, I could use the watch time.